What's going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to The Drop, which is pretty much a series on my channel every single Monday where I break down the new video game releases of the week and let you guys know what new games are coming out. And this week is by far the biggest video game release week that we've seen in 2016 so far, with a lot of awesome titles coming out. In fact, there are really too many to make a proper intro. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So first off, we have Cobalt coming to the Xbox One, Xbox 360, and PC, and this is a game developed by Oxeye Game Studios in association with Mojang, who made Minecraft, which is a pretty big name to be associated with, and I do think that being associated with Mojang is going to push this game's sales a little bit further than they normally would be under normal circumstances. So what is the game exactly? It's pretty much a 2D side-scrolling shooter with some bells and whistles that make it a little bit different than any other normal 2D side-scrolling shooter. Within the gameplay trailer, it is pretty much emphasized that there is slow motion and combat rolls, so it seems like this is going to be a pretty gameplay-centric experience. It's not going to be something that you necessarily play for the story, although there is probably going to be a pretty loose story. One thing that I noticed within the gameplay trailer is that there is an upgrade system for your character that seems to be pretty in-depth. You know, there are different kinds of points assigned to different kinds of attributes, and you can get your different kinds of upgrades based on how you want to shape your character and how you really play the game, which is always something I like to see. I don't like to see just very vague upgrades that just make your character better overall. I like to be able to kind of shape my character a lot like in Fallout. The depth of that upgrade system is kind of something I love to see, and although this isn't obviously as in-depth as Fallout, it has that same kind of feel to it, which is something that I think is awesome for a 2D side-scrolling shooter to include. So if you do watch the gameplay trailer, you're going to see some pretty funny little phrases that are highlighted throughout it, including the fact that there's going to be a cosmic campaign as well as multiplayer awesomeness. Those are actually quotes from the gameplay trailer itself. But if you do have some friends that choose to pick up this game on the Xbox One, Xbox 360, or PC, it might be a pretty fun little experience to try as a group. But as far as the entire game goes, it looks like it's going to be pretty heavy on the gameplay and not necessarily so much on the story, which is pretty much where I would expect this game to land. But that gameplay does look to be pretty fun, especially with that slow-mo and with the combat roles and the different ways to play the games. It's looking like it's going to be the kind of game that really caters to the style of the player itself, and that's something I like to see. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can pick up Cobalt this week on the Xbox One, Xbox 360, or the PC. Next up, we have Not a Hero coming to the PS4, and this is a game developed by Roll7, who is famous for OlliOlli, and is published by Devolver Digital, who is famous for Hotline Miami. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, or you know the kind of games that I'm interested in, those two sentences alone make this game kind of hyped up a little bit for me, because I'm a huge fan of Hotline Miami. I enjoyed OlliOlli, although I didn't really get the chance to get that into the game. I just played it for probably a couple of hours and put it down, but those two names are pretty big in the gaming industry and definitely set up the kind of tone I'm expecting from this game. So pretty much the plot of the game is that you play as Steve, who has been hired by Bunny Lord, who is a human-like rabbit who is in an election to be mayor of this city to clean up the 5 districts of the city before he is elected into office. And so that sounds like a pretty interesting plot, but I like how Devolver Digital describes the game itself. It is a 2 1/4 dimensional side-scrolling shooter. That 1/4 dimension is pretty much in the form of a cover system, so you can pretty much hide behind walls and crates and whatnot in the environment and shoot the enemies from behind that cover, which makes it kind of different than just your regular 2D side-scrolling shooter like the game I previously mentioned. So in total, there are 84 challenges to complete, making me think that there are definitely a lot of different ways you can do those challenges, so there are definitely a lot of hours of gameplay behind this individual title. But what I love about the game, and what I've seen through the launch trailer, which I will link down below, and the launch trailer was so funny, I actually had to share it on my Twitter, which you can follow me at PrettyChillGuy on Twitter if you are interested in that. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It takes the funniness and the goriness and the violence of Hotline Miami and combines it with the kind of gameplay that we saw in OlliOlli 2, at least something a little bit similar to it, and it makes this kind of mashup that is Not a Hero. So if any of those things sound pretty attractive or interesting to you, you might want to check it out this week on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation Vita, and if you don't have either of those systems and you do have a PC, it's out there as well right now. Next up, we have Gravity Rush Remastered coming to the PlayStation 4, and this is actually a remake of a PlayStation Vita hidden gem, as like a lot of people like to call it. that came out a couple of years ago and was actually in the early years of the PlayStation Vita. And of what I remember, it worked pretty well because I did play it for free with PlayStation Plus a couple of years ago. But you play as Cat with a K, who meets a cat with a C, who gives her gravity controlling powers, and through the use of the touchpads on the PlayStation Vita as well as the gyroscope motion sensing within the system itself, you can pretty much traverse the environment and solve puzzles and challenges and whatnot. It was a pretty fun experience, I have to admit, and of what I hear, it's just that exact game with the graphics kind of remastered, boosted up to make it look really good with the power of the PlayStation 4, and it seems to be working fairly well. It's being reviewed, and it's getting pretty good reviews so far because I think the way the DualShock 4 is set up, it pretty much caters to the game itself. You've got the touchpad on the front of the controller, and you have that motion sensing, so you don't really have to change that much from the gameplay of the PlayStation Vita. So if you enjoyed it on the PlayStation Vita, you definitely want to check it out on the PlayStation 4. If you're looking for a new kind of experience on the PlayStation 4, you probably want to check it out if you haven't played it on the Vita. Either way, this is a pretty iconic PlayStation franchise that is making its way to the PlayStation 4 this week. Next up, we have Crypt the Necrodancer coming to the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Vita, and I have to say that this is one of the best game ideas that I have ever seen, and a lot of people seem to agree with me because on Steam, where it's been out for quite a while, it's actually ranked as overwhelmingly positive in the reviews section. So basically, this game is a rhythmic dungeon crawler in which you're pretty much just doing your standard dungeon crawler things that you would come to expect from a game that's labeled that, except you're doing it to the beat of some EDM/house music, which is pretty entertaining, and I have to admit that the soundtrack for the game is extremely fun to listen to. I actually spent the entirety of writing for this video listening to the Crypt of the Necrodancer soundtrack, and I have to say that I've got some of the songs stuck in my head, and I'm not really that big of a fan into EDM or house, so if that says anything, it's definitely some good music. So pretty much the plot of the game is that you control the main character by the name of Cadence, who is trying to make her way through the Crypt of the Necrodancer while collecting gear and defeating monsters and doing all the standard dungeon crawler kind of things, and each zone is randomly generated. So pretty much you're going to have an infinite amount of gameplay value within this title. You can replay it as many times as you want, and you're probably going to get some similar kind of levels here and there, but for the most part, each individual experience is going to be different from the last, and that's something that I love to see in this kind of game. So within the PlayStation version, there's actually an additional soundtrack by Jake Kaufman, the composer of Shovel Knight, and also like the PC version of the game, if you play it on the PlayStation 4, you can actually use a Dance Dance Revolution dance pad. You can buy these on the game's website, or if you have one laying around that uses USB, you can definitely plug that into your PlayStation 4, but that just goes to show you what the game is. Like, that is the kind of game that this is. You can play it with a dance pad. That's pretty awesome, I have to admit, but the reviews on Steam have been incredible, and it's pretty reasonably priced, so if you're looking to add this game to either your Steam library or your PlayStation library of games, it's definitely a good choice, and it's coming to the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita this week, and it's already available on the PC, where it is, like I said, overwhelmingly positive reviewed. So next up, we have XCOM 2 coming to the PC, and this is a turn-based tactical game in which you are the commander of the resistance force that has to stop the ongoing alien invasion of the planet. To go a little bit more in depth, this game is set in 2035, and it takes place 20 years after the events of 2012's XCOM Enemy Unknown, which pretty much rebooted this tactical franchise that has been iconic for the gaming industry in the past. So pretty much XCOM used to be the military that was the defense against the alien invasion, and then whenever the aliens did invade, the leaders of the different nations on Earth pretty much just gave up outright, and then XCOM kind of became this renegade resistance, so to speak, and it kind of went underground, and a lot of people forgot about it. But you play as the commander of XCOM, who has gotten control of some artillery and is going to take back Earth from the aliens. So at the moment, this is a PC exclusive title for $59.99, considering it does lend itself to the keyboard and mouse kind of control scheme, because you are controlling your different kinds of ranks in your military, and you're sending them to different locations, telling them to attack certain objectives. You know, it is that kind of game that lends itself to the PC kind of experience. So I'm not really sure if this one will ever come to the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One, but I suppose time will tell. Anyways, if you're a fan of the tactical kind of game that this is, and you have a PC, you might want to check out XCOM 2 coming to the PC this week. Finally, last but not least, we have Dying Light: The Following coming to the PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4, and this is DLC done right. Like, this is the kind of thing that I like to see in the gaming industry, because it does reward the longtime players and longtime backers of the game. So Dying Light: The Following follows the story of Kyle Crane, who goes out of the quarantine zone, which is pretty much the area that's in the base game, which is already huge. I haven't even explored all of it. I still haven't played through the entire game on my Xbox One. but he goes out of the quarantine zone to find groups of infected and a cult known as the Following who may be able to change the world of Dying Light as we know it. So one of the things that's really awesome about Dying Light the Following is the map size. The entire map for Dying Light the Following is the size of all of the original maps from the game combined. That is a ton of area to explore, and it's nice to see that the DLC is expanding the game that much alongside a completely new story that doesn't really build off the original story from the first Dying Light, so to speak. I'm kind of even in my mind considering this a sequel to Dying Light, somewhat. So in addition to this giant map and the new story, there are some other enhancements that have been added to the game, including a drivable dune buggy, which is going to be used primarily as a weapon and as a way to traverse the environment, which I think is a welcome addition to the world of Dying Light because parkour did get a little bit tiresome after a while, as it would in real life. And there are also new weapons, so the entire game adds a lot to it, but it also maintains that throwback to the original game, the original version of Dying Light, which is something that a lot of games seem to forget. As more DLC is added, they kind of change the direction of the game, but it seems like the guys over at Techland Games have kind of kept it tied in, kept it reined in, and they've still harkened back to the original version of Dying Light while adding just enough difference so that players can kind of see where the game is going and see where the franchise is going in the future. So the pricing for the game is done extremely well, which I will show right here. If you had the original game and the season pass, you actually get the Following expansion completely for free, so you're pretty much just getting an entirely new game to go alongside the original Dying Light game for free if you had that season pass. If you have the original game, you get the nice little enhancement pack that kind of improves the AI and the graphics of the game, and then you can buy the season pass for $29.99, which gives you all of the DLC that's ever come out for the game and the Following, or you can just buy the Following for $19.99 itself, depending on how much content you actually want to get from the game. If you have neither, you can actually get Dying Light the Following Enhanced Edition for $59.99 that includes the base game, all of the DLC, and the Following itself, which is pretty awesome considering you get basically 2 games for the price of 1. Ultimately, what I'm glad to see is that Dying Light didn't just fade out like I thought it would. The light didn't fade, so to speak. Basically, I thought this game was going to be pretty popular for a couple of months and then kind of fade into the memories of a lot of people and become one of those games that I never really got around to playing again. But with this expansion, I kind of have a new desire to go back and finish the base game, and I might even, you know, go ahead and get the Following at some point if it is on sale. I'm probably not going to buy it this week, but it is definitely a lot of game, and it's a huge expansion, which is kind of a nice change to see because we've gotten so used to DLC just being little things that are thrown in here and there to enhance the base game rather than adding an entirely new game to the base game itself. So that's always nice to see, and it is something to look forward to for those of you that have Dying Light on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. So there you guys have it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, drop me a like down below and comment and tell me what games you're going to be getting this week, if anything. Are you excited about Dying Light? Do you love Crypt of the Necrodancer? Have you played Not a Hero? There are so many games in this week's drop. Just let me know which one you are looking forward to the most. And if you are new to the channel or you've never seen any of my other content, I do upload new stuff like 3 or 4 days a week depending on the week, so there's always something new right here on the channel when you drop by to watch some videos. And as always, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this particular video. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.